grief that goes with children, but there's also the other side of it. I mean, it's an
Mhm.
experience that you can't find anywhere else. I mean, watching someone grow from a baby to an adult and see the
Mm-hmm.
influence you had on that is amazing. But there is the grief
Exactly.
side of it. I mean, it's
Mhm.
not,
Mhm.
everybody doesn't, I mean, like I said, I lost a child. It's been a while, so I've learned to accept it, but
Mhm. Mhm.
it's still there.
Of course, I think the
But
loss of a loved one, even, but I think losing children is exceptionally difficult. I
yeah,
think.
I went through a period after he passed that I wasn't even sure I wanted to go on living.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, I had to get help.
Mhm.
But if I had to do it over, I don't know that I would have had him. I really don't.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
Um,
What's the
because
reasoning behind that?
well, for one thing, losing my son, but I have 27 years of good memories with him, but
Mhm.
losing him was a devastating thing on me.
Mhm. Mhm.
And his mother and I were divorced when they were very young.
Mhm.
Well, my oldest one was 8, and my youngest one was 5. And being a divorced father is not an easy position to be in.
Mhm.
I was, I mean, I was their dad, and I got to admit, my ex-wife didn't really interfere with my role.
Mhm.
And when there was a problem, she'd call me when she couldn't deal with it, and I'd do what I could.
Mhm.
But there's a side of me that wonders if I hadn't have, if I'd have never had them, how my life would have been different. I mean, would I? I
Hmm.
mean, I would have missed out on so much
Yeah.
joy, so much happiness, but I also would have missed out on so much pain.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I've got
It's a
Right.
that's why I
difficult
say it's a
dilemma.
mixed blessing. Yeah,
I can
it's a mixed
understand that.
blessing. Um, I mean,
It definitely
when
is.
when we decided, well, it was her decision actually to have kids. I really, I was 25. I was not sure I wanted to do it,
Mhm.
but we did,
Mhm.
and and the early years were amazing when they were babies and when they were little.
Mhm.
That was priceless to me. And I remember, the little things like changing a diaper or burping them, or or
Mhm.
teach
Mhm.
them to ride a bike,
Mhm.
or taking them on a trip. Those were awesome things. Like I said, there's a downside, at least for me. I'm not saying everybody um,
Sure,
feels this
it's
way,
your
but
personal experience that we're yeah that I appreciate.
yeah.
Yeah,
People are
definitely.
Now,
different.
the
I
one
think.
thing I will
Yeah.
say,
Mhm.
yeah, one thing I will say is, I have a granddaughter
Mhm.
who's 10 years old. I mean, she lives 600 miles away, but we talk on play on this Oculus for,
Так, что-то зависло у меня.
Oh, it sounds like you had a very valuable and good experience.
Mhm.
well, the thing is, I was never very close to my dad. He was a very absentee father. So I tried to be the opposite of what he was, you know.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah.
Mhm.
He,
Good for you, man.
Sorry, I got kicked
so
out.
he,
Mhm.
but he never really got too involved with our lives. I had he had 7 kids. You know, he didn't mind making babies, but he didn't want to take responsibility for them.
Mm.
So, and you know, sometimes I get where he was coming from. I mean, you know, the children are almost all consuming at times in your life. I mean, they're all you think about. They're all you care about.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a beautiful thing, I guess. But it's also a draining thing. It can drain you.
Yeah, for sure, definitely.
Uh,
It's a
So
double-edged sword.
Yep.
it's a tough call.
Yeah, it's a difficult choice,
Uh,
but a very
you know,
natural
but like
one,
I said,
though.
I don't know. Yeah.
Thanks
I
a
like
lot for sharing. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay.
For me, a lot of that. I got a few kids, and you know that fear of something happening to them is what makes me regret. Like I never want to go through any sort of that experience. And you know, I have so many children that I do a lot with numbers, and the number says that I may one day have to experience that. And that is the largest regret and dread on my life, that I put so many beings in my presence that I take care of and I love them to death. And you know, I may have to experience that loss. So I really feel for you, man, and please pray for me
I,
too,
I
because
hope you never,
I don't know if
never.
I could deal with it.
Yeah, I hope you never have to. You know, the thing is, my grandfather, my mother's side, he had like 12 kids,
Mm-hmm.
and he lost 3 or 4 of them before he died.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, and you know, I feel sorry for myself because I lost one, but he survived. He lost, you know, 4. I don't know for sure exactly how many of them passed away before he died, but
But yeah, but
you know,
in, I agree with
it's
you,
just some.
but look, there's also some difference between the generations. I believe the child mortality was much higher in the previous generations, and it was taken, you know, as something taken into account as something that is really possible to happen, and especially
Well,
like.
yeah, I know.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, I was just going to say I had a couple uncles that died while they were adults, and he was alive, and you know, he survived it. So he was kind of an inspiration, I guess, if you want to say that. For
Mm-hmm.
me, if my grandfather could do it, then I could do it. You
Good
know.
point. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, the way
Yeah.
to look at that.
Yeah, I'm glad you were able to deal with that situation. That's really hard. I always hear from here and from many people from different you know, generations and ages. They always say that one of the most terrible things you can experience is losing your child, and like it's terrible when parents bury their children. And we have a monument here in where I live, not far away from here. There's like a monument and seven storks like touching their wings. There was a story where the one lady, she had like 7 sons, and they went to war, and all of them died. And that was such a. I'm like, oh my god, I can't imagine how terrible that is to lose all your sons, and that's really terrible. I think by the time the war ended, I think she was like an old lady.
Yeah.
Wow, that's terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's.
Yep. Second
Yeah.
World War.
You know. I mean, yeah. It's like my oldest son. He's the one with my granddaughter. I worry myself sick about him, and he's 600 miles away. He's 42. He's a grown man. He's an adult,
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
but
But you still worry,
you
right?
know, oh, desperately bad. I mean,
Hmm.
you know, it's. I mean, I offered. You know, I said, son. I mean, I'm in Indiana. He's in North Carolina. I said,
Hmm.
son, I can. I mean, I want to move there to protect him, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a 65-year-old man, and I want to protect my 42-year-old son and my 10-year-old granddaughter. I gave him a gun, you know,
Hmm.
uh, to protect himself. Uh, but you know, I know, you know, he told me, no, Dad, don't do that. You know, but So
The world is very dangerous. A lot of people don't know that, and that's something that it keeps me up at night because, like I
yeah,
said, my whole day job is to run numbers, and I'm looking at how the world may turn out for our youth, and it's just terrifying to me. And one of my biggest regrets there too.
Yeah, but still.
Anybody else have any experiences?
Okay, let's see if I have any hand raises. Also, like the poster wasn't big enough, but I wanted to add another part of the this decision, maybe having no kids. So maybe if you have thoughts about child-free families, that's also going to be interesting to hear from different people. Maybe there's another side to this question too, like being a child, because I remember when I was really angry, I was little and my parents were trying to force me to do something, and I was so angry that I said, I didn't ask you to be born. Like, why do you always tell me what to do? So I remember that thought when I was like really little, but still, and I kept thinking about it, like and now I think about it because I call it like inviting a person into the world, like instead of just having children. So that's a tough decision.
Remember
I think.
telling you, I remember going in my room screaming, I hate you, of course in the pillow, not out loud. Oh, I hate you. I wish I wish I was grown, so.
Yeah. Child problems. I think that's a natural way of maturing too, because like you ask questions. Once you start asking questions, it means that you have already separated from your parents, because when you're little, you are part of your mother first, and then like you see your mother as the whole world. And I think like
Exactly.
the kind of relationship that you have with your mother forms your so many levels of your personality, and then later on with your father, like in the pregnancy and all those things, they influence your lifetime. Not only your body, that it's influenced by the epigenetic differences, like in if your mother is nervous, that's it, you may have a totally different destiny. Even with your same genes, just the expression of the genes can change. If your mother is pregnant and nervous, or has a stressful period, that influences the body, and then later on your early life also influences your psyche. And sometimes people have to deal with some things that they had in their childhood for their whole life. So yeah, that's a very responsible moment. I always call it like a big bang. The importance of time is always like very, very high in the beginning of the pregnancy and having children. So yeah, do you want to share any of your ideas just around the topic? And Justin, is that you? You changed your hairstyle, so.
Travis. Travis got his hand raised.
Oh yeah. Hey.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, you also changed your name. Said 10, 21, 13. I'm wondering what those numbers are. Can you tell me anytime?
It's Justin.
I can't
Oh.
see Travis.
Just the numeral value. J
Ah,
is,
in what system?
Hey, what?
In an alphabet?
Yeah. J equals 10.
Hey.
U equals 21. It's the
Hey,
21st
Well, hey,
letter
everyone.
of the alphabet.
Yeah. Tried to give
Got
him
it.
a megaphone. I couldn't find him.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Let me give you a megaphone. Okie dokie. Oh, you have a new photograph.
Found him.
There you go. You have a megaphone?
Can you hear him? It's like, look like he's stuck on mute on mine.
I
Oh,
was
what's
thinking.
up? How you been?
Good. I was trying to give you a megaphone, and I think I did. I see a megaphone with you.
Mhm.
But I might have some technical problems because the background video is glitching for me, and I like sometimes lose the connection and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you want to share on this on the topic?
I think I came in a little late. I'm not sure what the topic was.
Okay. Having children. Any aspect of it. Having children, responsibility, is it a good decision? What motivates us? to have children? Like, is it biology? Is it your genes or a selfish gene who that wants to propagate, or is it something like something that makes your life more meaningful?
Um, for me, having children is a blessing. My kids have changed my life forever, literally forever. Um, but yeah, my daughter has definitely changed the way I see things. My firstborn,
I think she's a teenager,
Zoe.
right?
Yeah, yeah, she's a teenager now. She's definitely changed a lot of how I see things because I don't know, having a child, I mean, having a child to begin with is a lot of stress and a lot of, there's a lot of things you have to go through and you worry about, their well-being and their future. And so as a father, at least, everything about how I manage life changed after her. But yeah,
Definitely.
children are definitely they're, they're definitely life changers. That's for
Yeah, I think it's
say
like
the least.
I think it's like an investment project. I think I'm too close to you, so I'm echoing a little bit. So yeah, I think it's like an investment project. Like first time it's difficult, but then later on you can see your. First of all, you can see them developing and seeing how they change, and I think there's a lot of magic in that. It's like extending your life by watching somebody else who's being born and then develops. I think that there's something about it that people instinctively enjoy, basically, that they have somebody who looks, it's somebody that looks like you, and at the same time they are different, and they are growing every day. They do something new, and they start walking, they have their first words, and you kind of expect them to be like you, but at the same time you are you see how different they are from you, and maybe like that's also magic, I think, of life.
Like you know how when you open up a family album and you see an aunt or an uncle that looks like identical to a particular person when they were at a particular age. There is a lot to be said for genetic memory, and the brain's development is actually inherited by the father and mother. And that genetic memory is something that I'm learning now. I'm actually able to see my daughter and my son, both of my sons, act and react in ways that are identical to the way that my wife and I act and react. And it's interesting to really kind of see that growth, because it's even their thought process, even like their depth of knowledge and cognitive way of viewing the universe. We kind of we can see that same thought process in ourselves, and it's kind of it's revealing. It's definitely, it's kind of scary. At first it was scary because it's like they'll say or do something and you're like, wow, that was literally me at that age. My for instance, my daughter came from the mall, and I was a Nirvana fan when I was younger, and she came bouncing in the house, and she had a Nirvana t-shirt that her and my sister went to the mall, and she has that on. And I looked at my wife and I'm like, oh wow, that's okay.
Okay, yeah. Same old, yeah.
Yeah, it was like, whoa. And she's like, oh, I'm such a fan. And I'm like, oh my god, wow, that's
You had no idea. Yeah, I'm gonna tell you a little bit.
no idea. That was even the way she came in mirrored the way that I showed my parents my first t-shirt that I wore from a music group that I was into. Even the way she did it was identical to the way I did it to my parents. And so
That's
yeah,
crazy. I had a question
It
when
was
you.
really weird to see.
Yeah. Do you learn something from seeing them do same things, or maybe saying things differently? Like, do you find some? I think that's part of the parenting, that you evaluate probably the things that you've done in your life when you see their reactions.
Well, I mean, you know how it you know how it is. It's when you don't have a mirror on you all the time, you you kind of run into this rut where you kind of go through life and you don't really reflect who you really are. You can kind of, you see your own actions, but sometimes being truly self-aware is hard to do because you can't see yourself all the time. You can't see all of your actions all the time. I mean, unless you're photographed 24/7, or someone's videotaping your every move, you can't really see all of your, you know, actions. When you see that kind of stuff in your children, it is very it makes you more self-aware of who you are, because you see that outside of yourself, and you start to see your children mirroring your actions.
Sure. And I think
um
it's not only that you see or don't see, but probably the time is important. Sometimes you can see things. It's like reading the same book in different ages. Like you when you
yeah,
read the same book, you are different. The same book, the book is the
yeah,
same. You are different. So I think even if you
the book
see.
is yeah, the book is the same, but you definitely,
Mhm.
that actually, you hit on something there. That's something that I'm learning now. um I will literally go back to a movie, or back to a book, or back to a scripture, or back to a piece that I read, in the past, and I will read it again because I know I've changed so much from that
Hmm.
point till now. So I will
Yep.
purposefully go back to it again because I want to
That's
see
a good practice.
what deeper information I can pull from that that I've missed before. And I'm finding tons of different things, especially in scripture, especially in sacred text, especially in movies, just a deeper understanding that I don't know, at a young age, I just missed, I guess.
Mhm. Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you. And I think that's one of the biggest pluses, probably, of scriptures, because they have so many different figurative, like metaphorical pieces of
Hmm.
wisdom that you can always interpret them differently. I think that's the beauty of it
Hmm.
about it. And I noticed that I'm over 30 now, and I gained, well, around my 30, I gained this like integrity of thinking, I would say. Before that, I could think
Hmm.
about pieces of information and pieces of different ideas and meanings, and my life was, of course, not as rich, and the experience was not as rich. But when I turned 30, I realized that my thinking has become more of a integral circuit of thoughts, so I can see patterns in different areas that were independent before. So it's as if you are collecting a puzzle, and at one point the puzzle is not finished, but you can see the final picture there. So yeah, that feeling,
Hmm.
I think, happens when you're a little bit older and you have like more experience, and I think that changes profoundly the way you see things. So yeah, that's really cool. I think when you have children,
Definitely.
you are older, that's why you see them differently, and I think that there's a lot of learning there too.
I had a theory a long time ago, um, that I'm kind of, confirming the older that I get. Um, so my grandmother had this saying, whenever we would talk about certain people, she would just say, "Just remember, people are just people." And she just wanted to remind you that, that to be comfortable in your own skin, to be aware of yourself, to be able to confidently speak your mind. But at the end of the day, people are just people. And
Hmm.
through that experience, I kind of felt like, when I was younger, I felt like my spirit was huge, but my body was little. And I feel like the older I get, I'm sort of growing into my spirit, and not the other way around. Like, my
Hmm.
body is physically growing into the spiritual sense that I am.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that process that process alone is very revealing.
I caught myself thinking into the corner of the room, and I see a picture there with your previous hairstyle just behind you. It's interesting.
Oh yeah.
A pink Erica is like on your left, on your left. Yeah, I was going to change the poster, and I'm like, oh, this is fun.
That's funny.
It's fun, yeah, to seeing people in VR and like changing over time. So yeah, thanks for sharing. There's a lot of interesting.
Should I go back to the pink hairstyle?
I don't know. Experiment. Why not? Okay, so I have another hand raised from Addie. Addie, cool. Hold on. Let me give you a megaphone. Cool beans. Addie, cool beans. Okay, so.
Hey, do you hear me?
I don't hear so far.
I can hear you.
Okay, good.
Says, did you hear me, Carol?
Yes, you're coming in loud and clear.
Oh.
Yeah, I can hear you, Mendes, but I don't hear Addie, and I think he or she's not accepting the megaphone. That's fine. Okay, so welcome to Theory of Everything, everybody. I see a lot of new people here. So yeah, I always kindly arrange, we always kind of naturally arrange into this circle, which is cool. Hi! Sorry, my hands are not moving today. I'm not using my headset. Okay, so it's a weekly event. We choose some topics that we have fun discussing, me and Mendes. Well, actually, let me, while I'm speaking, let me add the poster here so you can see both of us.
Today's topic was about having children or not having children. How do you feel about it? We're just trying to dive deeper into that conversation. So I know everyone doesn't want kids. I have a bunch of children, and like I said earlier, it's scary thinking about the world as it is today, and my kids growing up in it.
Yeah, today
years
and
ago,
the
I was-
future again. That's another scary thing. Like in 30 years, who knows what's gonna happen with?
I don't like my kids interacting with too many other humans that I haven't vetted, but it's something that I can't avoid because I have to send them to school. They do a lot of activities in the community. It's just I just don't know how to keep them safe. And my biggest regret is that or fear that one day I won't be able to protect them. So, anybody else have any thoughts about that? Or are you happy that you didn't have kids so you don't have that worry?
So far, I am. Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing that stops me. One of the things, maybe financial and stuff like that. But also, I think it's just feeling that responsibility for somebody else. I think that's really, really, a big, big game changer in your life. I'm not even talking about those, little things like being a law-obedient person, not drinking, not swearing, being a better parent, better person for them, which is good, basically. You become a better person. And I was sharing with my friend the other day, and I said, oh, I don't know, I can't organize myself even sometimes. How do I organize this life somehow? Having children, that's really like a lot of responsibility. And she said, well, I don't know, she said, maybe for your character, that's the way to go. If you have to organize yourself for the kids, maybe that's going to be like a total change for you. So who knows?
That'll help.
Yeah.
Carol had her hand raised. I gave you a megaphone, Carol. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I'm a parent.
Okay.
Two boys, two men, I should say. One is
Good.
37 and one is 31 now. And the 37-year-old special needs. And I believe there was one point where I didn't want to have children. I didn't want to get married. I didn't want, that rebellious thing you go through as a teenager. Because growing up late 60s, 70s, it was a whole different mindset. So you wanted to explore. You didn't want to do what previous generations did. But having children, getting married, then having children was probably one of the best decisions I made, mainly because of my upbringing. Once I settled down after my, wildness, my wild period, and I realized that, hey, it wasn't so bad growing up. We didn't have a lot of things, but I really enjoyed the home. I'm an only girl. I have 5 brothers. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. My dad worked as a maintenance man at a university in the city. So it was a very routine type life, but um, we were allowed to explore and to, follow things that we wanted to do in our lives. And so when my children were born, the first one, when he turned 3, we discovered that he was on the spectrum. And back then it was like, oh, what does that mean? And all of that kind of stuff. But he's doing very well. He's married. He travels with his wife, all that kind of stuff. But I agree, you do have such a high level of anxiety at times and when you're raising children because you want to be in control. And that goes for anybody, whether you have children or not, whether no matter who you are, you want to be in control. And when you have children, you want to be in control of their lives. And so there were a couple of events in their lives where the unspeakable could have happened, but didn't happen. And even I suffer from post-stress.
PTSD.
Yes. Thank you.
Post-traumatic
PTSD.
stress.
Yeah, post-traumatic system.
Yeah. Just from thinking about it. And that happened, oh my
Exactly.
goodness,
Mhm.
28 years ago, we were at an amusement park and the parking lot was up on a hill and they had those cars that fly on cable cars, that fly in the air to get down from the parking lot into the park, the amusement park. And we saw them, but when we went to where you get on, it happened so fast that the 2 children were in the car in front of us. We wanted one adult and one child in each car. And at that time, I don't even think they had a bar in front of the body. And so
Yeah, the protective
as
one.
we descended down the hill, I was shouting, for the older son, please hold on to the younger son, hold his hand, don't let him move, and don't move, don't move. And we made it down to the hill, and I blasted the people running it. I said, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. You need to put up signs saying that these things don't stop. You got to hop on them to make sure you're holding your child's hand, all of those things. Even though he wasn't hurt, neither one was hurt, or fell out, which would have been, a tragedy. I
Yeah.
still my heart starts racing and everything every time I think about it. But you move on, because tomorrow is
Mhm.
going to be something else. I hate to say it. There's always going to be something else. And I have my faith to lean on, and that helps me get through. Otherwise, it's like, why get up in the morning? And
Yeah.
so we live in New York City, and I remember like 9/11. One child is in school in New Jersey, one child is in school in northern Manhattan, and I was a teacher at the time. So when I think back on that day, my husband was off that day. I didn't know what was happening. Most teachers didn't know, and I had a little transistor radio. For those who don't know what a transistor radio is, but I had a transistor radio in my classroom, and I turned on to the news station, and they were actually describing what was happening. And I was fortunate; my mobile phone I was able to call my husband and tell him to go get my younger son. And I kept trying to call the school, my older son in New Jersey, and I couldn't get through. And it was such a terrifying time that our oldest son never could get back home that evening because the bridges were closed.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Wow.
when, you have to trust. So one of the kids in his class who actually lived in New Jersey, his family took him home. They finally reached us in the evening, said, he was fine. I talked to him. They said we got him a toothbrush and, everything he needs. And I felt better then. That things are out of your control. And that's the biggest thing
Mhm.
I believe in anyone's life, that you cannot have complete control. But if you have faith, I'm a Christian, so that's where my faith is. Once I relinquish that kind of control, I feel like I can move forward and I can do the things I have to do in my life. So it's like you have to find what you can use to get you through each day. Because, after 9/11, people say, oh, 9/11, oh, I said, well, we still got cancer, we still got this, with the pandemic. I said, there are people
Mhm.
who have all kinds of ailments going on, still going on. We can't forget about that either. So always something. So the whole thing about it is things are going to be out of your control. And once you realize that, you can spend your time doing the things you want to do, loving your children, having fun with them. So now that my kids are like 37 and 31, we're constantly, remember when, remember when. And that's such a joy. You're not, fussing at me talking about you should have did this or you should. No, because we took the time to just spend time with them. And, just all I can say is I love having children. I don't have any grandchildren yet, but that's okay too, because there's a lot of children who could use my tutelage and my love who don't
Mhm.
have anyone to take care of them. So, even if you don't have children, but you want to spend some of that energy, there are children who need your love and need your care. Whether you
Exactly.
adopt or just become a big brother or a big sister. Keep that in mind.
Yeah, that's a great point. Thanks for bringing that up. Also, yeah, with adoption, that's another interesting point of discussion. Thanks. Thanks, Carol. So, St. Justin, I see you are experimenting with your hairstyle too. Yeah, thanks. Anybody else want to share? Cornelius, you're joined. Hey, I'm happy to see you too.
Hey,
Okay.
Cornelius.
Hi. Do you want to
I
share?
wanted to add to that a little bit.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, let me.
Go ahead.
Yeah, but I forgot what I wanted to say. So,
Maybe
dang
about
it.
religion, maybe about control,
I think it was the control aspect.
maybe
Oh,
adoption.
that's nope. It was the control. For me, I'm still not over it, and I know with one of my older kids, like I didn't let them go anywhere for a long time, maybe 5 years. Like I wouldn't let them go to our cousins who has a bunch of kids or any of that. They're not staying. She wasn't allowed to ride with anyone, any of that. I never let her do anything. But
Wow, you're a strict
it
father.
came to a point. Yeah, I was. It came to a point where I realized that I'm robbing her of experience in a lifetime, and that's not what I wanted to do. So, I eat it a lot, and I let them do a lot more now, but I'm still kind of that way, like just because I want that control. I want to be able to control their outcomes, and it's still a battle for me to accept that I can't and to let them live. But it's just something that I have to do. I got older kids who are gonna make mistakes, and I just got to deal with that without getting upset or frustrated with them. I mean, it's a hard thing to do and a hard concept to understand. And I appreciate you sharing that, Carol.
Yeah. Thanks for
That's it.
sharing. This is a. Hold on. Let me give you a megaphone, Carol.
Um,
Mhm.
I'm sorry, not
No, it's
letting
fine.
your children go places and do things. My mother was like that. She was the person that did that kind of stuff. My dad worked and fed us and kept us with a roof over our head. But my mom was like the person that took care of things around the house. And I used to
Mhm.
think she hated me when I became an adult with children, a parent with children, I saw what she was doing because you hear stories of people visiting, because her thing was, well, who's going to be there? I don't know those people,
Exactly.
and there was reason for everything she did. And even though I felt like she was being hard on me and mean to me and trying to control every aspect of my life, I know now what she was doing. And I
Yeah.
thanked her. I'm glad I got a chance to thank her before she passed on. But the hard part, and I agree with you, is when they're adults and you still want to, you want to exercise
Yeah.
that control.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, especially if they're not married. If they're married, all right, y'all go do y'all do you.
Yeah, do what
But
you do.
when they're still like coming around and they're not married and they're acting,
They're in their
they're
party
not,
age.
yeah, yeah.
I
And
know they're
even if they're
drinking
like,
and hanging out.
okay,
So.
they're not hanging out too much. They're working, paying their bills and stuff. But still, you're trying to, that's the hard one. I think it's harder when they're adults than when they're children. Because when they're children, or teenagers, they're teenagers, and types of things that can happen. But when they're grown-ups, that's it's harder to let go then.
Definitely, yeah. And I think for both, for children and for parents. And over time, well, like I live in this different city. My mom has like 4 daughters, but still, like only, I think none of us lives in the same city. Yeah, only one sister. She lives like closer, like maybe 30 minutes drive. And yeah, it gets difficult because you got used to this like rhythm of life where you have like you have to take care of your kids, to worry about their success and their failures, their choices, and then once they get older, they're on their own, and that's where it gets hard because you suddenly, I think the life changes so quickly that it's difficult for some people that I see here where I live, for older people to let go of their children, because I see when I studied in the university, for example, many parents, they made choices for their children. Like my group mates and university students who studied with me, they didn't choose that profession, and I'm like, wow, is that possible that your parents just choose for you? It's horrible sometimes, but some parents really do know better. Okay, thanks for sharing, guys. I see some hand raises here. That's really good. So Cornelius, let me give you a megaphone. Then Sean and Bart Delassoir have something to say about it later. Okay, Cornelius. Oh, sorry. I think we both were trying to give you a megaphone. There you go.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, happy to see you.
Hey, Cornelius.
Just wanted to, I don't know exactly what is the topic, but related to the danger and the kids.
Yeah, having children is the
think-
topic. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have 2 kids, well, growing like young adults, 23 and 20 and 21. Yeah, 23 and 21.
Wow.
But I think the thing is that I see in the United States that they try to keep the danger out of the kids, right? To raise the kids without danger, like everything has cushions, everything is like
Safe.
clean, safe, and I don't think that perhaps it's not a good idea. I think the best way to raise them is to teach them the danger and how to
Deal with it.
be careful with things, right? My kids were in a alternative school here in Canada when they were like perhaps young kids and adolescents, and they were like many tools to work with wood and that kind of stuff, and they were teaching them how to use them. And I think that was the way before this society make everything safer, right? Like when you teach, like for example, a blacksmith teaches his son to work with metal. That's the things that we need to like make again. I don't think danger.
Make
we should
America
suspend
dangerous
danger
again.
That's a good one.
Oh, so our oldest is 21, and she was very sheltered, and like that. And the adult that she is very different than the adult our younger kids are probably going to be. And I think that's due to the fact of we sheltered her so much. We didn't we didn't expose her to the dangers. I think that's where I fear a lot, especially with her and her second oldest, because we didn't prepare them for what the world really is, and I'm watching them work their jobs and find out on themselves hurts me a lot
Yeah.
too. So thanks for
Yeah.
sharing that.
That's the dilemma, I think, that finding that right balance where you support your children, you make them feel loved, but at the same time you don't make them crippled into the world. And that's a hard bet because
Exactly.
that's a hard bet
It's a hard
because
balance.
exactly, but you don't know the future. That's the biggest dilemma because the programs that we have in our head about families, about having children, they come from our parents, and they lived like what 50 years from the point where your children are going to live, at least 50 years and 60 years, and then the world changes so rapidly today that those principles that we see as the right one and decent ones, they're not gonna be maybe effective in the next generation, and it's gonna maybe harm sometimes, not even help. Great, we have a lot of hand raises. Let me give some megaphones to more people to speak aloud. Okay, Sean, fourth, sent something. Okay, sent hooligan. Oh, street hooligan? Okay, there you go. Go ahead.
Hello.
Hi. I love your hairstyle.
Bear, bear with me a little bit. I've got COVID, so
Oh, good.
Okay,
It's
yeah.
good that you still have COVID and still stay
thank
social. Thanks to VR.
yeah.
Yeah, it's good that.
So it's
Go ahead.
it's funny listening to the talk about the first child being sheltered, because it seems like that's always the case. The first child's kind of the trial and error, and then the second, the third, or the fourth, if it winds up going that far, usually run further and further from the first one on how that works. And growing up, my dad was the type to say, that's going to hurt if you do it. And my mom was the one that would run over and try to stop you from actually doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I find a lot of that translating into the way I raise my kids is the I'll give you a suggestion about it, but in the end, kids are strong-willed, they're curious, they're going to figure it out. And one of the things that I've found is stepping on that curiosity right off the bat, just taking the curiosity out and introducing them to it takes away a lot of their desire to go behind somebody's back to figure it out.
Yeah. I always say that responsibility equals freedom. So if you take somebody else's responsibility, especially your kids, I think you take away their freedom because they don't learn to be on their own and to be free to make decisions.
Yep, definitely. And it runs across the board. My wife does a little more of the control side versus the management side of it.
Yeah.
Tries
I think
to
it's
be
very
more
typical.
hands-on versus versus the mental side of it. And you get a lot of strange looks because we're very open, we're very honest. The kids have probably been introduced, they're 8 and 11, both of them are girls. Probably been introduced to stuff a little earlier than they should have with some things, but never past the point that satisfied their question. The world's scary, and lying to somebody about that
Could
isn't
be
correct.
detrimental. Yeah, I agree.
Yep. Being open and honest, those are the two biggest things I've found. And they both come to you with stuff. They got questions. I mean, my oldest one's followed me through a year and a half worth of medical school right now. She probably knows more than she should about a lot of things past the 3rd grade right now, but hopefully she takes that and does something good with it.
Thanks for sharing. Yeah. I think that's a precious like age. I remember when my nieces from America were visiting. One was 10 and another one 11, but they were like wiser for their age, I think. And they asked so many questions. And actually, it was funny that I asked them, "How would you raise children? Being a child, which what advice would you give me, like for for raising kids?" And she shared a lot of wise thoughts. She's like, always talk to your kids, ask their opinion, and then make deal and stuff like that. And I think that's where parents, I think, learn from children a lot. In my opinion, when children ask questions, they always try those areas that people who are adults, they have those things covered. They think they have those things covered because they choose the stereotypes, the boxes and categories for things, and don't ask questions anymore. And children, they open those boxes and force people to reevaluate and rethink things. So I think that's really precious. Thanks for sharing.
Definitely, they're a lot more intelligent than we give them credit for.
I definitely, I'm sure that's true. Okay, great. We have some more hand raises. Mardella Swar, would you like to add something? Then 3 Stack, you'll be next.
Okay.
Oh, you have a megaphone already too. Mardella Swar, let me give you a megaphone to you.
Well, you were talking about being in control of your adult children, and that is, I remember when my oldest son joined the Army. Now, you talk about losing control. You have absolutely no say as far as where he's gonna be. I mean, he even had no say in it. And I remember I was at work one day, and he left a message on my phone. He said, "Dad," I said, I'm being deployed to Afghanistan, and my girlfriend is pregnant."
Wow,
Yeah.
double trouble.
Oh yeah, he got me good then, and I couldn't talk to him for over 2 weeks because he wasn't allowed to he couldn't call
With the
me.
basic trainer, yeah.
Well, he was been deployed. He was in Afghanistan, and I remember he would call me after he was there, and we would be talking, and he'd say, "Dad, I got to go." He wouldn't give me any reason. He'd just hang up, and I never really give it a second thought at the time. But after he got out and he came home, he told me, he said, "Dad, do you remember those times that I would have to hang up on you?" I said, "Yeah, I remember." And he said, "Well, that means that's because I was, they were firing rockets at him or where he was stationed at." And I didn't know that. I mean, I'm glad I didn't at the time because I don't know how I would have dealt with that, knowing that he was in actual danger.
Yeah.
But he spent I think like a year or 2. I don't remember how long now in Afghanistan. And these calls, I mean, they were. He called quite a lot, but every once in a while he'd just say, "Dad, I got to go." So I was completely out of control of what was happening to him. And like I said, he was even out of control. People were trying to kill him.
Yeah, that was a harsh war.
Yeah. I mean, but he survived it. He's okay. He's home now, so it all worked out, I guess. But yeah, that's losing control like that is, it's undescribable. It's an odd thing. Anyway, that's what I had to say.
Thanks for sharing. Wow, you have a rich family history. I'm amazed each time I try to put another piece of information into this picture of who you are, and that's really fascinating. Thanks for sharing. Okay, 3 Stack. You can get a chance to speak, to be heard. Okie dokie.
Bro?
I don't know. I think I have some glitches, or maybe he left.
Oh, he left.
Okay. He's like,
I just
I'm
watched
like,
him
oh no,
run it.
I don't want to speak. Okay, for your information, you can speak or pass. That's your choice. It's a free floor. No, things that you have to do here. Only things that you want to do. So yeah, this is an interesting topic. Since there's, okay, let me see. There's one more hand raise. Oh yeah, there you go. So no hand raises anymore. So maybe I can use the pause that we have to throw in my 2 cents. I think having children is actually something that comes really naturally to people, since this is one of the main incentives that our genes have. I think there's an interesting book by, if I'm not mistaken, Richard Dawkins. It's called The Selfish Gene. So the main idea there that is that in humans we don't have sophisticated our bodies, they don't have these sophisticated motivations that we do have, like having children, having family, having success in life. All it wants to do is to survive and to have children. So that's why it's selfish gene. It wants to get as many copies as possible. But I think because we have these higher thinking functions, our personalities, our souls, basically, and we ask these existential questions, I think that's where different layers of our personalities, they come to manifest themselves. And that's why I think sometimes we have these choices where we have limited time. I think the not only having children, but also our finite nature also makes a lot of has a lot of influence on our behavior, I think, because in my opinion, when I see people, I'm getting a little bit older now, and I see that even in my mood, in my behavior over time, and feeling that, I think makes a person face the existential questions, like, what is the meaning of my life? How much am I doing the right thing in my life? I'm not getting a second chance. And when you have those thoughts, I think having children is such a bliss at a point, I think, because you can watch somebody growing up and have that future in their hands, and see children that are just developing every day, and they learn something new and those amazing things, and you are surprised at how quickly they learn, how quickly they develop, how they manage things, like those kids who take the phone and somehow figure out where the game applications are. They are not even able to read, but still, and those things are amazing. But I think there's on the other hand, it's our way to cope with our finite nature, continuing our existence in our kids. And I think that's something that is very satisfying, I think, for many people. So if you have any thoughts on that, you can raise your hand and continue and share your thoughts, even a couple of sentences, why not? Okay, so I have 2 hand raises. Wow, good. Mardelasmar and Hush710. Okay, Mardelasmar, let me give you a megaphone first. There you go.
Okay. Well, you were talking about,
Hey,
I guess
Miley.
you could call it a legacy, but like I said, I have a granddaughter. Or I told you my son told me his girlfriend was pregnant. Well, I have a 10-year-old granddaughter, and she looks exactly like her grandmother, my ex-wife. She looks, but she's my granddaughter, and I see the future in her.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I mean, I worry what her life's going to be like. I mean, she's only 10 years old, but I worry about her life. But still, in my own way, whatever influences I have on her, even when I'm dead and gone, I would still be a part of the future.
Yes, yes, exactly. You're gonna leave on in her words, in her some words of wisdom that you tell her is going to form some of her personality, and she's going to take that into the future. Maybe her children are going to look more like you. Who knows? Genes,
Maybe,
work.
yeah.
Yeah, genes work in 2 generations, they say. Yeah. That's exactly. I like that you share that point of view, that you see the future in their hands, and you see yourself, part of yourself in that future. And I think that's a very good way of fighting with this fear of death, our finite nature. They say, I think there's a thanatos, like it's a, I think if I'm not mistaken, a Greek word for death. So there's like thanatophobia. It's like fear of death. I think every person who was born died. So I think, well, this is really something that maybe not even consciously, subconsciously controls our actions, I think, to some point. Okay,
Hey,
great.
when
When do you what? Oh, hold
when
on.
did I ask?
For a megaphone, if you raise your hand, you do that. Do you want to say something? Let me give you a megaphone. The topic today is having
who?
children.
Who?
You,
I
Hash.
can't have children, man. Fuck this shit.
You don't want to have children, or do you want to have children and
can't.
you can't? And you can't?
Yeah, I want children and I can't.
Oh, that's really frustrating, I believe. Okay, he just left. Okay. Yeah, that happens sometimes. Yeah. Hey, Gregster, I just saw you like in before. Hey, it's great to see same people coming back. Mhm. Do you have
yeah. How you doing?
Good. I don't have
I-
hand raises
I didn't have
anymore.
I didn't have anything on this. Oh,
Do you have children?
you're giving it to me anyway. All right.
I
I didn't have anything. It's so funny because I don't know. You talked about the selfish gene. I think there's a double selfish gene in me because
You
I
don't
never
want to have
wanted
kids? Yeah,
Yeah.
finally we have some
You know what?
child-free people in the room.
Well, I'll be honest with you. To be honest with you, when I had as a child,
Mhm.
I saw my mother's reaction when JFK was killed.
Mhm.
I was very young, and then I saw when Bobby Kennedy was killed. I saw her reaction when Martin Luther King was killed, and I was just like, I was totally devastated behind how my family was just traumatically affected by that,
Mhm.
and my whole thought process didn't think that it would last as long, right?
Mhm.
But I was like, I don't ever want to bring kids in this world. I don't ever want them to go through these traumatic events that I
Mhm.
was seeing, right? And so it just kind of stuck with me, and and I didn't realize, I can remember having this discussion with my mother, and I go, she's like, all right, when are you going to have kids? And I'm like, well, I don't think I want to have kids. I don't think I do. And she was like really kind of pushing for this, right? And I was like, yeah, I'm just not feeling it. I don't trust the world.
Uh-huh.
How old are you?
That was my only only contribution right there. But yeah, that was it traumatically affected me to the point where I just didn't want to have that happen. And maybe that's very selfish of me because I could, hey, my kids could be a positive contribution to the world, right?
Mhm.
It
Mhm.
have, but hey, but it's a risk. So,
Mhm. Mhm.
mm,
Yeah,
I
thanks
chose
for
not
sharing. Finally, we have this. I always like to have different points of view, so that way people in the room can hear different points of and have this, weighed, centered, balanced amount of information. So thanks for sharing. On child free, I like the way you put it. I'm not sure if you were in the room when I shared the same idea that I say that not having children is like I don't say having children. I say inviting them into the world. And it's funny how you use the same terminology, like, I'm not ready to invite them into the world. And I do not have children too. Not yet. So, yeah, I think I'm that selfish gene box there. So, yeah, I understand what you're saying. And that's why I asked the guy, Hash, he just left, but he said, I'm not able to have kids. Well, imagine that situation. And the question is, like, do you want to have kids or you do not want to have kids? And if you're unable to have children and you really want that, that's really devastating for some people. I think that I have one family. They've been married for like 10 years or so. No, not 10 years, almost 20 years, and or 15, don't remember, but the number was like very significant, and they still don't have kids, and they're very successful. They have their apartment, they have like cats and stuff like that, but you feel that, you know, sorrow in their voice when they say, oh, we want to have children, but unfortunately the God doesn't give them to us. And I'm like, oh, that's really sorry, because there's so many children in the world that were born in, you know, unfortunate, because their families, they didn't want them. And there's so many other people who really dream about having children. They're so you know, they would love to, but unfortunately they can't. So yeah, that's good.
I think I took myself off. I think I took myself off of the mic. I wanted to add something. To that also.
Yeah, sure. Let me give you a microphone. Oh, some new hand raises too. Hold on, 1 sec.
And yeah.
Oh, there you go.
I have raised kids. Yeah, I did raise kids though. They just weren't mine. And so, you know, and I've also,
Nephews?
you know, my contribution to that was you know, raising a family that wasn't mine, and also I became a mentor I started mentoring children at the age of like maybe 20 years old, you know. And so that was my contribution, you know, and helping people, and you know, so helping people grow up and flourish and things, and I've been so proud of that right there. But it's not really my blood. So, but you know, and I'm okay with that. I'm like okay with that. You know, hey, you know, go ahead. In the world, that's been the whole thing. You know, it's like, you know, I try anybody that I touch or come in contact with, I try to uplift and or assist or give some type of guidance for them, so that they can, and you know, at some, maybe, you know, they don't have to carry it on in my name, but just, you know, be a positive influence on the world.
Yeah, again,
Anyway,
heritage.
That's all I had. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. That's also a good heritage, I think. Mardo, as far as I think, agrees with me too. So the rest of you guys, I think you already have megaphones, thanks to Mendes. No? Oh, okay. So, hey Cornelius. Okay. Also, Carol, I think you. Cool, Carol also.
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback on what Gregster was saying about being a young child and seeing how those tragedies, was, you know, the whole nation was feeling it, and probably most of the people in your household. And I think what we were talking about earlier, how parents became helicopter parents slowly, you know, over the decades after some of those events. Before I retired, I was a pre-K teacher for a few years, and I noticed how parents were really, they didn't want anything to touch their child. It was amazing to me. I mean, my brothers and I used to run around the streets, you know, play and do all kinds of wild stuff. But they didn't want anything to happen to children. Like, they didn't want anyone touching them. You know, first thing they say when they come pick up the child, did anyone hit you? Not hello, how you doing? You know, how was your day? Like, did anyone hit you? You know, looking for things to obsess about. And I'm thinking, because I remember where I was watching the Kennedy funeral and how weird I was feeling. And, you know, by the time 9/11 happened, I think we had gone through so many different things in our lives that we're dealing with even the pandemic in a different way than someone who might be 20, maybe even 30, my kids, younger kids, deal with things. So whoever said earlier, your children to experience and don't be so, you know, protective of them is right. Because at some point, you're not going to be around, or you're not going to be in a place where you can reach them. They're going to have to be able to function and make decisions and navigate all types of things in the world. So yeah, I've seen over the last few decades how parenting has become so called a helicopter parent, or just The child can't have a chance just to sit on the swing or sit on a bench and look at the clouds. Every minute of the day has to be filled with some type of activity. And so I don't know where we go from here. I really don't. But I agree. We need to let the children kind of
live their lives.
get dirty. It's okay to get dirty. Parents, when I was teaching pre-K, they didn't want their child to get dirty. I'm saying, well, this is pre-K. We're going to be painting, we're going to be digging, and even though we have smocks, these are children.
If they don't get dirty, they will have allergies later on because you have to accept life as it is.
Exactly. Oh, yes, you're right about that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's for sure. I might need to re-enter, I think, because it's glitching a little bit. Oh, welcome, Ultra Funky. Yeah, thanks for sharing, Carol. Yeah, that is true. And I think there's another point that I wanted to quickly add to that. It's like, it's not only taking away their freedom and taking away the responsibility from children's life, but I think in the area where I live, it's like, it's a big dilemma about the elderly parents. Because cultures change, and I think American culture is very individualistic, which is very, very different from the area where I live. That family, it's like Italian families here. Everybody has more like connection to each other, and like elderly parents mostly are when they get like much older and they get sick or they're maybe disabled sometimes, they always are sure that their children are going to take care of them because elderly people are being taken care of by their children. And that's totally like the majority of people do that. And whenever you talk about, going to the, what was it, nursing home, I think, right? For elderly people, it's considered to be something very, very, I would say, like not typical, and people think that, wow, you don't have. What about your children? You have your children. It's terrible if you go to this, terrible institution, and it basically means that your life was, in vain. That you didn't raise your kids to bring you. They say in Russian language, oh, if you don't have children, you will not have a person who's going to bring you a glass of water when you're old. So who's going to bring that glass of water for you? But I think there's another point to that when some people who are overprotective of their children, they always take too much responsibility. And it's good when they're, still capable and young. But once you get older and you reach, for example, some older age, it's not a very good idea because your children are going to have that mindset that, oh, my father or my mother doesn't need any care. They always take care of me, so they don't even have that idea. That idea even doesn't cross their mind that they have to take care of their parents once they get, more independent and older. Like when kids are older than 21, 23 and they get their jobs and they become like a full member of society, I think it's time to take some more responsibility about your parents too, slowly but surely. So there was another hand raised, Cornelius. I think it was with you, right?
Yeah. I think one thing that is really crazy about this part of the history is that we are raising kids as individual families. Mm-hmm. I think the concept of tribe was really important. Like the kids are from all the tribe. Like all the adults were raising the kids, and all the kids were together, and all the elderly were in the tribe at the same time.
So agree with you.
All the relations that they were much stronger, right? In this society, if one of your parents die, like it's really, really a terrible thing. I don't want to say that in a tribe is not a terrible thing, but the thing is that the kids have 20 different parents, right? It's not
more
like
connections to support
like
them.
just one, right?
Yeah.
So I think we are doing the things in the wrong way. Like we need to get take some steps backwards and try to raise our kids in a community, as a community, not as a family, individual
Agree.
family.
I agree with you so much. I think that westernized lifestyle is so busy and so individualistic, and it's seen as something good that I think many children they simply lose the ability to have this experience of having a grandfather or grandfather or a grandmother or a grandfather or like a group of older people who are going to share their wisdom, who's going to have fun with them. For example, I think that many people don't. Well, personally, I had this precious experience where I had my grandmother, and she was not very healthy, unfortunately, because life was very difficult at the times when she had like 6 children within the wartime and stuff like that, and she had a very difficult life. And but she always was cheerful, so I really loved her. And I had that experience where she was not able to take showers and like to take bath because she was like she had excessive weight and like weak knees. She couldn't like walk freely. And she always used to call me to help her take a bath. I'm like, and that was like a really precious experience because I always felt like I'm having this connection with my family and having this connection with my past and like the history of my family. And that was really cool because we were joking and having fun, and it kind of prepared me for this idea that actually taking care of not only of your kids but also the elderly is like this, paying tribute to your like family history. So I think I'm sorry that the modern lifestyle doesn't allow that to happen. Just to sit around and just listen to some fairy tales from your granddad or like grandma.
One other 2 things that I want to add is that I was really surprised here that when you have a party like one of your kids like are really young have a party, like they give presents to all the kids. I don't know, I don't understand that. Like it's really weird that we need to treat them all the same. I mean, it's a birthday of one of the kids. He needs to feel special, right? That's all the reason that you have birthdays. And the other thing is that when for example, my mother, and I think that happened to many of us, when it was cold outside, my mother told me always, put your sweater because it's cold. And that's really a bad thing. What you need to say is, I think it's cold. Take your sweater. Don't put it. But if you get cold, use your sweater. You just remember that there's a sweater there. That way you are constructing their own
responsibility system.
Way of thinking. Yeah. Because if you obligate a kid to put a sweater, you are going against his senses, right?
Yeah,
he needs to feel the cold to say, oh, I can get a sweater. If you are saving from him, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Sorry for my English.
Your English is great because
get your practice.
Yeah. The ideas I think make us person. Okay. So did I lose any hand raises? I see Carol and
Ultra Funky.
Ultra Funky. Yes. I've seen his hand raised, but I couldn't see him later. Okay.
Yeah, microphone.
Ultra Funky.
Hello, Funky.
Hey.
Hi, I'm a little bit sick, so I sound a little bit strange.
Thanks to
I know
VR,
since,
that
like-
you can still stay social.
Yeah.
And not
I have
contagious.
the possibility. Listening to you and listening to Carol, I was thinking more like she was like asking a little bit what went wrong. And my theory about things is like this: you have passion to teach out, and you have principle to teach children. And I would always say like it's better to follow the principles before the passion, because that's the rule set to follow. And these days we are more of letting the children to be so much individual that they don't have the possibility. They can feel so much. Do I want to do this? Should I do this? Instead of having the culture and the principle of doing the thing that is right. Like you a little bit you push them to do the right thing.
Yeah.
So I would say like the important thing is that also the principle is more important. And in that way, when you have the passion, when you let the kids have the passion, I would say it's like this, that then you come to a question like, when you talk to them and you say something, do they take that to their person and you say something hard, or do they take that as a thing? This is just a subject that we need to fix and get some good principles around, or do they take it too hard and feel it? You understand what I'm trying to say with this? So I think the thing that we have right now with people, I think it's even in my age, being an old man, my generation, is that we don't see the difference between the thing or the thing or the person. So when I say that you did something wrong when you were washing your clothes, I just mean that you did something wrong washing your clothes. That doesn't mean I dislike you, but that's a really hard thing for people to
Communicate,
differentiate between, because they take it so personally, everything that happens, and it gets worse and worse for every day. That's how I see it right now. I just want to say it like when you were asking, like this is like the lowest I can go in my thought process, where I think that we need to change, and then everything, for me at least, goes from those thoughts more out, like what we have to do to change. But I get that as a feeling of being a problem, or something, a problem, something we need to work with. And I think that we need to be much harder and go back to principle, because if we go back to the 40s and 50s, we were living more by principles and law than we were doing around feelings. People got married because they needed to get married more than they did it for love, and it worked. Maybe I'm conservative in that way, but
Yeah, I
I'm
would
just
love
saying
I would
that's
love
my...
to continue on that. Once you're finished.
Yeah. Okay. So that I just wanted to say, just answer Carol something. Maybe it's wrong, maybe it's right. I don't know, but I just wanted to, like, I felt I had to say that because you were like asking a question. I felt like that. At least.
Yeah,
So this
thanks
is
for
my point.
sharing. Yeah, personal opinion is what's valued here. So yeah, to continue on what you're saying, we have some more hand raises, Paul F and like other people. But I wanted to quickly say that I agree with you. I think we talked about it before, that we have these old ways of doing things that are supposed to be done, not the things that you feel like doing today. But I think that's, again, we come back to that balance thing again and again, all in circles, because I think people who had been doing that for years and generations, they had other kinds of problems, mostly psychological problems. And if you say, also, I would love to add.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Oh, would you like to continue on that? Would you like to answer that point of view? Oh, okay, got it. That was 3 seconds. Okay, so I wanted to say that another point that I wanted to add is that, for example, I think that thing worked more for men probably, because there's a little thing that stayed outside of the radar for 40s, 50s, 60s families. Look at how many women they were drinking. They were having those pills to help them. Mommy's little helper there to keep things going on as they should go, not the way you should feel. So I think that whenever you go to a psychologist and you complain for some problems, the main thing they ask is like what you feel, because this is the feelings. I would say that things that you have to do, they serve your brain, they serve your mind, your long-term goals. But your feelings, they serve what you feel is what your psyche is experiencing. So those, keeping balance between short-term and long-term is the key, I think. So I believe that the world is going to find that balance one day, staying psychologically healthy, but at the same time being productive and functional and doing things that should be done. Okay, I see your hand raised. Would you like to answer? Okay.
Yeah.
2 megaphones.
Sorry.
Fight.
Yeah. So the thing with the principles is that, what are you going to try to get from your children? To obligate to have some principles, or to
Make them feel happy.
teach them to be critical thinkers and get their own principles, right? It's much more important for me that they get smart and they can have their own code of ethics, right? But they need to be able to get to that point. If you like obligate them, I don't know if that's a good way to do it. But of course, I respect your opinion. Ultrafunky is not.
I would say like this: if you have the law and you abide by the law, you can have a society that works pretty smooth. And when I talk about principles, I talk about some form of laws, what is right and wrong. I don't say that everything has to be perfect, but at least you need to follow something. And when you don't have anything to follow, then you're lost. So when you go into passion and you don't have anything to follow and anything to learn from, then you're going to be
and you get your wrong direction. I don't agree that you are lost if you don't have something to follow. You can be a critical thinker and just make your own path.
So
Yeah,
if you were having your country and you didn't have the laws in that country and you had foreigners coming into that country and just do whatever they want to do, whatever they want to do, you cannot integrate them into the system.
One thing is the law, another thing is your principles and your ethics. Like I know that the laws come from the ethics and the morality and many things, but that's one thing, and your morality, your ethics needs to be.
I'm gonna use some very basic examples and touch on the topic of being able for them, like he said, to make their own decisions and whatnot. I have one son. He's a year and a half years old. I'm in America. Been to 6 different countries. So I got to analyze.
Now you're speaking. Yeah, thanks for sharing.
I got to see these different cultures and make my own judgment by observing what they're accustomed to versus what we're.
I think you're a little bit away from your mic.
So
yeah, hold on. Can I take 2 seconds, guys? I am really happy to see a lot of people in the room, but there's a little bit more noise. So I'm gonna ask you, if you don't speak, mute your microphone, and if you want to speak and start speaking, once you unmute yourself, you will not have a megaphone. So just give me a sign, or start speaking, but not very important things, so that way we can give you a megaphone and everybody can hear you. Okay? So let 3Stack please continue speaking, but get as close to the microphone as possible so everybody can hear you. You have the megaphone, but it's not very loud. I think Mendes is on the other side of the room. So I'm gonna mute myself too. And 3Stack, please continue.
All right, my bad about that. But yeah, so when I was in Africa in November 2019, that was the first country that I stopped in. It was a Italian family that I met at the resort that I was staying at, and there was a 16-year-old boy, and just upon your glance, you're gonna assume that he's a grown-ass man because he didn't have any skin. His whole body was full of tattoos. For him to be 16 and Italian. So just to see, in America, I've never seen nobody 16 with a full body of tattoos compared to like a motorcycle rider. It's like 30 in America, 30, 40 years old. And to see that his family allowed him to drink wine and all the alcohol due to that being a part of their tradition over there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who can dictate what his family deems acceptable if they were to visit America? Based on our laws being you have to be 21 years old to drink, 21 years old to smoke. Where I went to Amsterdam, and to be able to go into the coffee shops that are there, you have somebody standing present at the door, but they're not there checking ID. They're there to make sure no alcohol is going in. Even though you have to be 18 to drink there, you can't combine alcohol in the coffee shops. So just seeing how strict it is in America for them to impose a 21-year-old restriction where someone from overseas would come in that's 18, 19, and they don't have any restrictions imposed on them, for them to be hemmed up in our law scape, for it not to make sense on a global scale, and to try to put ourselves on that competition amongst everyone else. I feel like how everyone touched earlier before I was having connection issues, that we are shielding them and we are like protecting them and making it to where they are away from danger at all times. But looking at how other countries don't have the same laws adapted like we do, how do they view us being up from the Western world when you go out there and you see that? Because it's not coming in here. You know what I mean?
I can give you an answer on that. I've been to America when I was 20, and it's funny that you mentioned that. Actually, we brought a couple of. We didn't know what to bring. We didn't drink, both of us. Like, there were two girls, and but we decided, for some reason, we decided to take souvenirs, the vodka from Russia, because, like, I don't know, for some reason. And I remember that we presented that vodka at the end of the season to our colleagues. One was in college. I think he was just turning 21, like in autumn or something. And he said, wow, this is so amazing. I have the booze and blah, blah, blah. I'm just going to keep it till my college and stuff. He was so excited that for us it was really strange. Because in Russia you can go to the shop and buy alcohol even if you're 10 years old. And, I'm just taking it for my dad. That's fine. But not anymore. So the laws are changing, and I think that
right on that.
to some point, I think it's always a dilemma. Like, to protect someone, what is the degree of safety that you have to create around them? I think that sometimes we lose and because this is a very long-term process, even raising children or raising the whole generation of children in your nation. This is a very long-term project, and you can't guess what's going to be the best strategy, because different strategies, they work differently. My parents, they actually gave me so much freedom, and they were respectful, and they actually raised my independent self, that I think for me it was the best solution, because otherwise, being a teenager, all the teenagers are maximalists, and this is the way I believe that nature actually does that, because you have to get out in that pilgrimage and actually, travel the world or do things. What I mean is, like, you have to deny all old things and to try new ones. Even at the end of the day, if you come to the same point of view, at least you want your I think that's almost a natural probably mechanism for teenagers to try and risk and try new things. So that way the nation, the whole group of people can grow, because you can have these experimental knowledge instead of just having the ready answers. It's always good for a big group of people to have different people, older people who keep the wisdom and keep the information, like people of the reproductive age who work and create that value and wealth in the nation, and young people who ask questions, who create new things, who challenge the system. And I think that's really beautiful about humankind. Thanks for sharing these, Stag.
Yeah, that's true too. But you got to keep in mind too, though, like for me to be in America and everyone to be oblivious of like world hunger, and to see
Exactly.
that there's still deaths going on daily from starvation, and then not to really be an issue in America. Therefore, it's not talked about, or a solution is trying to combat that for all the hungry people that are out there.
Exactly. Very wise point.
I feel like it's a lot more problems when it comes to world issues than just at home that are overlooked, and who's there to look out for the ones in need at that point.
Yeah, and the world is actually very large, and there are many countries and many different problems in different countries. And I think when you live in an isolated island, it's hard to actually understand other cultures, to understand other, ways of life, and which is maybe good to some point. We don't know. I think the world is relatively new. Our civilizations are relatively new for us to know which answer is the best. So we all are looking for some answers, I think. And in my opinion, if you want my opinion, I will tell you that I think many countries that especially Russia where I live, we see America as some country that is very safe inside their house, and they create like perfect, safe conditions for themselves. But outside that territory, a lot of shit is going on initiative from America. It's like, you know, starting the fight and then leaving the fight. I'm like, okay, that doesn't sound like a very wise decision and fair decision. Hi, Mike. Is it your first time in VR? Yeah, welcome. Sorry, my hands are not moving because I'm using a PC. Welcome to Theory of Everything.
What's up, Mike?
Hey, Fleming. Oh, yeah. There are some new people and many hand raises, so I don't want to take them. Paul, are you still awake? At least.
Can I say one thing?
Sure. Let me give you a megaphone.
Just want to say to Ultra Funky that I totally understand that we have different points of view, and I love that. I love people that it's willing to share different points of view, and I don't. I'm not sure, of course, that I have the right say to do things. It's I'm just trying to do my best with my kids. They are 20, 23, and 21, and they are good kids, so I think I'm doing well. But I totally know that there are many different ways to raise kids, and there's no like the good one or the bad
instructions.
one. I think love is the most important thing. No matter what you do, if you love them, it's gonna the outcome is gonna be good.
Great, thanks for sharing.
Thank you very much for sharing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yes, that's what we have.
DJ Sleep for a while. had to
Yeah,
say
yeah.
that.
Let me have this little introduction talk that I have always. Welcome to Theory of Everything. We choose every week. We choose different topics and we discuss things that interest us. Both of us, me and Mentes, we are co-hosts, and this is an open floor. We always appreciate for you guys to just express your opinion, even if you listen to everybody and you think, oh, my opinion is not like everybody else's. It's great. Raise your hand and talk about what you think. Share what you think. I really appreciate when we have diversity in the room. Look at the globe behind you guys. Look how many countries are there. Like the geography is great. So I think that having different opinions is always great. That's why we have this open floor, so that way people can share their opinion, and through these personal connections we can expand our mindset. Because I always have this idea when I hear new things, I think that's such a crap, but I don't say that out loud. But having these events actually allows for people like me who have this rejection first reaction to allow things to happen, to allow opinions to exist. And that way, that information that you hear here, later on, you may remember those words. And, you know, you may change your opinion after a while and think, wow, that's really cool that I heard that point of view. And now I think a little bit differently. So yeah. Okay, so DJ Sleep, right? Are you ready to talk?
I'm here. And this the topic is having children, right? Or just that's
Correct.
the
Yeah.
main topic of
You
it?
can easily segue to any sort of topic. Having children, child-free families, adoption, not having children, or maybe being a child who didn't want to be born, even those things. Anything you want.
Okay. Well, I kind of just want to go quickly in the topic is just like having to have that output for the, I guess, next generation that's already here actually, and you got to worry about what's coming up after that. Because I'm 24, I'm still not even the thought of children is there. It's nothing that's like, oh, I need to do this now. That's not in my DNA, right? I'm just trying to have purpose. But even while I'm still on that journey, I always go fast because I think somebody said at that point where I think you said you need to be able to educate the young so you can help that generation grow and prosper. And I agree with that. And but even with that, there's just that catalyst of like everybody was talking about, everything that there's a lot of stuff that's going on right now that you wouldn't want your kid to have to experience, but I guess that's just the natural progression of life. Is
Andy,
like
please be
when
polite.
that time
I'm gonna have to
happens,
kick you out if you don't.
you have to you have to grow and be able to adapt and it's just those certain points where you have to have a balance, especially when you have those goals and you try to get to that by any means necessary. So, for me, it's still kind of like a slippery slope. Like, oh, kids sound cool, but with the times now, like there needs to be. It's for me, timing is everything. So that's just my thought.
Yeah, thanks.
I
Thanks
feel
for
you.
sharing.
I feel you.
Oh, Mike, you're speaking
Right.
too.
Appreciate
Great.
that.
Okay, I again.
Greetings.
Yay! Would you like to say something? I can give you a microphone in a while.
I will think of something. I got you.
Okay, got it. Once you're ready, raise your hand. For some reason, Ultra Funky, I don't
Got
see
you.
your hand raises in the at the panel, but
I don't have the menu. I don't have the menu, so I have to do it like the manual way, showing the hand above
I'm
my
here.
head.
I'm here.
don't
Give
know
me a
why.
microphone. Oh, by the way, it's
Yeah.
funny you said that you're sick.
No,
The guy before you, he just said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I have COVID, so bear with me." I'm like, "Okay." So we have this
oh no.
stuff going on, yeah.
Probably not COVID. So you don't have
Hopefully.
to run away, okay?
We won't. No, we won't. Don't worry.
Thanks, because I'm standing
I
right
don't-
next to you.
Yeah. No problem. No, I don't know if anyone wants to say something, or else I want to jump in back to something you said, Assi.
Oh, okay.
Sure, I'll
great,
say
great.
something quick.
And the thing is that you said, like with children.
Hold
that
on, hold
were
on.
you gonna explain your
Frostbite.
thing?
I think he said he wanted to say something,
Let
right?
Frostbite get something out.
Yeah.
Oh, I just want to introduce myself, Jason, Minnesota.
Yay.
I'm on the map. I'm the only one over there from Minnesota.
Cool.
With a 10-year-old
Welcome.
daughter.
Welcome to Theory of Everything.
46-year-old anesthesia worker at the hospital.
Oh, cool.
I saw the room when I loaded in, and I thought this was kind of my wheelhouse. I thought I'd
Welcome.
come by and hang out and listen to what everyone's talking
Yeah,
about.
It's great to
I
have.
think raising a kid is
Why
tough
be so
in today's
harsh?
world. I mean,
Mhm.
with everything going on, my daughter's 10, and we live in Minnesota, so we're close to Minneapolis. So there was a lot of parenting on my behalf to her. Then learning a lot of what we had to deal with George Floyd in Minneapolis and all that other stuff. Yeah, it's unprecedented times to be a parent for a young one.
Yeah. As they say, if you want to curse a person, wish them to be born in the times of changes. So there are a lot of changes in the world, and particularly in the States. So it's. I think it's so hard to be a parent in such a time too. A lot of responsibility.
Right.
Definitely difficult.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing. Okay. So
What
yeah.
claims?
Ultra Funky. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Yeah, then I will continue. Thank you. It's like this. You were saying that kids need to challenge the things that was before, or challenge changing things.
Yeah.
If I understand you correct. But I
Yeah.
was
At
thinking
least
like
what their
this.
parents think. Mhm,
When-
mhm.
Yeah, differently where the parent thinks, and I think they do, but I think they do it a little bit too fast. Like they take all the gears at once instead of like first gear, second gear, third gear. And if you look at the world, we had like 1/3 is young people, 1/3 is middle-aged people, and 1/3 is maybe old people. We say like we change it up like that. There are more old people doing it the old way, living their life the way they see the life is gonna be lived to survive, and the kids doesn't have that background in the same way. So I think like when they run away and try to change the world a little bit too fast, maybe that is what's hurting them. That's just my thoughts. But I'm saying like this: I think it's important for kids to travel and see the world and decide how they want their world to be. So that's a really important thing. And I said like that's one of the most
I agree.
important thing you can do. If you have the money, kids, travel, because you cannot read in the newspaper
Can't agree more.
what the world is about, because that's another person's opinion. So you have to travel the world to decide what you believe about the world. But also saying like this, you also know, Azzy, I see you as a 20-year-old girl, but when I talk to you, I feel like you're older. So I would say like this: when you get
I'm
older,
30 though. if you're talking about me. 32,
No,
I'm
no,
like
I'm
an old
just
person now. No, it's funny that when I entered
No,
PR,
no, but
I
you
thought
sound older. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to go to your
it's
age.
because
I'm
it's
just
because of
saying.
my gray
I see you
hair.
as 20.
It was on purpose.
I see you as 20.
Yeah,
No,
there's
but-
my
but the thing
picture,
is,
by the
when
way.
you get-
If anybody is new here, like you can follow us on Instagram. Like it's the most ridiculous platform, but still I use it a lot because it's for my job. So if you want to add me, I'll be happy to see you there.
I didn't mean anything bad about it, but I'm just wanted to make
Hey,
the
man.
point is like
Watch your
when you get older. When you get older,
Mm-hmm.
the easiest way to live your life is when you have principles and rules how
Yeah.
to live your life. Today, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go to work. I'm going to do this. You decide what you need to do every day, and that means that you will see the holes or in your schedule where you can do new things.
Yeah.
So following the rules or the routines. I don't know if I pronounced it correct.
Yeah,
but
I
you follow
think
the
routines,
routines.
yeah.
You always can find the space to do something new. But if you all the time try to do something new and you don't plan the way you want to go, you're gonna have a hard time because then you will never have time for anything.
Yeah.
So in that way, I say like what you say with young kids that they should do things. You're totally correct. But in the end, you have to bend yourself for your age, and for the way the world works because it cannot change too fast.
Mhm,
So I'm totally with you what you're saying, but I also want to say like maybe it's not so easy that as easy as we believe it is, or we are maybe pushing our kids and or lying to them that the life is easier to change than it is. That's why.
Yeah, it's marketing
maybe
that
it's a little bit
lies.
harder.
Yeah, the marketing is lying
Yeah,
to them.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you can learn
Yeah,
English in 1 month.
So I'm just saying to answer your question about it, like, oh, I see it, my point of view. But you're totally correct. Do
Yeah, yeah.
everything you can to change and learn.
I agree with you. I think that it's important. I understand what you're saying. It's like a balance between the. It's like a. I think he's sleeping. Yeah, I think it's like a balance of life, like having a body. If you have a body, you have to have a bone structure, and then like muscles over it, and then the skin, and like all those other systems. So I think that that's what you're talking about. To have that bone system, like that structure. That Welcome back, Paul. So yeah, I appreciate your ideas. I think that I understand what you're talking about. And I think we are pretty much agree with you, but I'd like to discuss with you because we have a little bit different opinions as well. Paul, you're back. Would you like to add something, or did you miss the? Great. Okay, hold on.
Just like to say, just to add to what Carol said a moment ago, because it was a moment ago to me because I fell asleep.
Yeah.
There's a book by Jonathan Haidt called "Coddling of the American Mind," which is a good read. It talks about safe spaces and trigger warnings and.
It's really funny. I'm gonna take a picture of you. You are a little bit taller because of your chair, probably, and you look like a prophet. Everybody is around you. Listening to you. So what's the book again?
Coddling of the American Mind by Jonathan Haidt.
Mm-hmm.
Coddling of the American Mind. Yeah, it's a good read. Just a word to Ultra Funky. Certainly in the UK, the majority of cold cases are COVID. So, welcome.
Mm-hmm.
Put your mask on, buddy.
Okay. Yeah, I will.
Yeah.
Masks don't do anything.
Yeah, I think in a couple of minutes we're going to naturally segue into after party mode.
Vaccinations don't either, of course.
Yeah, I'm listening. Don't mind the chaos in the room.
I happen to
That's
work
what I
in a
got to say.
hospital in anesthesia, and I'm very familiar with COVID.
That's really interesting. I think that anesthesiologists.
EMT masks don't do anything.
No dafty. Pinching, yeah.
Well, it is.
Go through
It is 4 o'clock.
Your bedazzled cloth isn't going to save you.
Yeah, there's a lot of debate about this COVID.
Hey,
It's,
but
I'm almost
why don't you
tired.
inject yourself
Science
with
is not
bleach,
up for
man?
debate. That's the perfect thing about it.
Inject yourself with
McPimpin. Please be respectful. I know we all come here to have fun, but still.
Science.
Yep.
Science is not.
We do respect science in this room. I'm the science policeman there.
I don't respect science. That's why I've got an Oculus.
from Facebook, right? Yeah, thanks for coming, guys. I think it's almost 4 o'clock in America, right? It's midnight in Russia, so the event is officially over. So there are 2 hours of the main event, and then after party is officially on. So you can have any part of conversation you want. I'm not probably be able to give you megaphones, but still, yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for coming to the.
Yeah, thanks for coming. There were a lot of people.
Every Friday.
The American psychologist, where are
Friday
you?
or Saturday.
Yeah.
Jonathan Haidt, Haidt, the coddling of the American mind. Coddling of the American mind. He talks about how he's having an orgasm. Oh, God.
Yeah, I'm sorry that we didn't hear more ladies tonight too.
Are they?
Yeah. Little announcement.
Yeah,
I never do this announcement, but still.
CODDLING, coddling of the American mind.
Yeah. Paul, may I take the megaphone from you? Yes.
Yeah, he's a well-known psychologist, Jonathan Haidt.
Look. Oh, I'm sorry. I think I muted you. Can you unmute yourself? But I took away the megaphone from you. So yeah, there's the poster in this side of the room. It gives you like a short instruction of how to find our channel. If you find the channel, you'll be able to get some email notifications about the future events if you want to. You don't have to, of course. And every week we're going to have these events pretty much at the same time, but sometimes we change the days depending on our schedule. But we really enjoy Theory of Everything and have these events for almost a year now. Was it like a little bit less than a year, but still? Me and Mendes, we enjoyed.
Bit less, but
yeah, still, yeah. I always keep forgetting to talk about the PayPal and those things. You know, you can support us and blah blah blah. Too shy to do that probably. Yeah, but anyway, keep coming back to Theory of Everything and enjoy your time in Outspace. Yeah, after party's on. Officially.